Hey, everybody, and welcome to Common Good Conversations, a podcast creating deeper narratives at the intersection of faith and politics for the common good in West Michigan. My name is Nick Brock, and joining me is Shawn Skinner.
Hey, good morning. How are we doing today, Nick?
Oh, we are hustling along. We've made it this morning. Shawn, today we have the privilege of being in conversation with Mayor Mark Northrup of Hudsonville. Now, Mark joined us a few weeks ago for our live event in Holland, and we are glad to have him again here this morning. So just for our listener audience, we had scheduled Mark for this episode well in advance of the live event. And so we're just happy to have him back here and happy that he participated with us at our live event, because that was a short notice in reaching out to him. So for those of you who don't know, Mark is running to defeat Commissioner Board Chair and leader of Ottawa Impact Joe Moss in District 5 during the August 6th primary. And if you know anything about Ottawa County politics, the primary election is where more often than not local elections are decided. So we're going to get into that with Mark. Mark's going to talk about his campaign. Mark will talk about the state of local politics when it comes to Ottawa Impact and the Ottawa GOP. And we'll dive into that in earnest. But before we dive into that, Shawn, we need to talk about some of the finer things in life. And I think this is a conversation, too, that Mark can join in. And when I talk about the finer things of life, I'm talking about bourbon and cigars. So upon learning more and having some conversations with Mark, I found out that Mark is quite the cigar, what is the word? Aficionado. So Shawn, let's start off here. We were having a few pulls on some drinks last night. What were we tasting last night?
Last night we were drinking some 3-Chord out of Kentucky. And then we had some Jack Daniel's 10-year and Bullet Bourbon 12-year and Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and I think a Journeyman Barrel Proof, which is a Michigan-based whiskey out of Detroit, or just south of Detroit, I think. So we were shuffling through quite a bit of different whiskeys and bourbons and spirits last night.
Yeah, just to be clear, we were having, well, I'm not going to speak for you, but I've just had maybe a 1-finger fill in the cup for all of those. And particularly, Mark's giving a thumbs up. I'm feeling
a little judged all of a sudden. I had other people just sharing. Bourbon is for sharing and enjoying with all your relatives, and yeah.
You know what? Mark is enjoying this.
You're lucky I don't have
so much. We should just have him come on in. Mark, were you having any tastings last night of your own? Shawn and I, we were having our own here. Did you have anything at home or anywhere out and about?
Boys, I'm the one running for office, so I'm taking the fifth on this one.
Well, you can still enjoy a nice one.
Guilty every time.
When you're out knocking doors, persuading people to vote for you, at the end of the day, you gotta, sit down and enjoy yourself. What might be one of your go-tos then, where you want to just sit down and relax in your big, comfy leather mayor chair?
I don't claim to be a bourbon snob. Many of my friends are, but I just like a good solid bourbon. I prefer more on the corn side and less on the rye side. I like the sweeter taste. And bourbon has become very, very expensive over the last few years.
Yes.
And quite frankly, I'm finding a good rum is as good as a good bourbon right now. So, but like all of us mature men, we just can't afford to drink much because it's hard on you and it's expensive. And I'm a very moderate drinker, although I do like a finger, as you would say, here and now. With a good, particularly with a good cigar and a nice bourbon. It's just to savor the moment. I liken it almost like a baseball game. You can't rush it. It's slow. It slows you down. It makes you kind of think and be relaxed. And I would venture to say that cigar smokers and bourbon drinkers typically are men that live longer because we know how to relax and enjoy ourselves a little bit and enjoy the camaraderie of those around us.
Well,
I
isn't that
would
a
agree
fine
with that.
contradiction? What were you saying, Shawn?
I was going to say I agree with that. That is the one thing that I really enjoy. Like when you and I, Nick, sit down for like when we were up at Traverse City the other week. It was kind of a real hectic day, and then you get yourself a bourbon in the hand and you get yourself a cigar. You can't rush it. You can't
Yeah.
just I'm going to smoke this thing like a cigarette and slam it down. It forces you to sit and just stop for a second, and think about life and all these other you can sit there and fix the world over a glass of bourbon and a cigar.
Yes, yes, you
Also,
can.
and Shawn, there's a ritual when you have a glass of bourbon and a cigar. There's a ritual about how you do it, and sometimes the ritual is just as enjoyable as the taste and the moment. That how you pour it, what kind of ice, what kind of glass, how do you clip your cigar, how do you light your cigar, how do you draw your cigar. There's a ritual there that's very rich for me anyway, and it forces you to kind of focus a little bit more on the ritual and relax and enjoy the company you're with predominantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
like the analogy, thinking about it in terms of baseball. So baseball is, it used to be a 3 hour game, but now due to new limits on pitchers, right, that the game has sped up, but you're still got 2.5 hours. And man, Shawn, when we were in Traverse City at the cigar bar, we spent almost like 3 hours just pulling on some
Oh yeah.
cigars and having a nice drink. So, and I
Yeah.
think we did solve most of the world's problems that day, right?
Oh yeah. I think so. I think so. And yeah, it was definitely around 3 hours because the wife definitely let me know that when we got
Hmm.
back to the hotel. You know how long you were gone? We've been waiting on you guys for dinner in a
Yeah.
loving way. Yeah.
Well, speaking of solving all the world's problems, let's talk about Ottawa County. Mark, you just participated in a League of Women Voters event this past week in Zealand, and there were 18 other candidates running for office, and specifically for the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners seat. So I just wonder, what was your overall impression of the event and hearing all of these 18 candidates? What were your thoughts?
Well, to a person, they were all very committed and professional and prepared. I was impressed with each candidate that spoke. They all clearly want a different direction in the county right now. We had two sitting commissioners there that are in the minority, and I think they echoed all of us that there needs to be a change at the county. I was very impressed with the League of Women Voters. It was a very neutral kind of atmosphere. And I didn't hear anybody badmouth anybody. It was pretty much this is where we are and where we need to go. And it was, I think, for the most part, a very positive event for all of us. Well organized, and hats off to the League of Women Voters and the 18 of us candidates that spoke. You probably picked up that I had a tightly scripted, prepared little speech to give in 2.5 minutes, and I looked around the audience and put it in my pocket and just spoke from the heart, which is sometimes more important than a rehearsed speech, because sometimes people just need to hear you speak from what you're thinking at the moment in your heart. So that's what I did, because there were 18 of us there, and we all had kind of the same speech. We're all concerned about where the county's been going and how they've been led, particularly in regards to all the improprieties and the financial misspendings by the commission. There's over $1 million spent on lawsuits, mass amounts of severance. And one of the things that I maybe didn't touch on, but there's this new concept called lawfare, which is an extension of the
Hmm.
word warfare. That's where they see they can use the law to get their mandate. And we are seeing that, on the right, extreme right side, as much as we see that on the extreme left side with the attacks on President Trump, but on the local level on the right side, they're picking and choosing what kind of laws they want to apply. For example, the Opens Meetings Act, and how they have skirted the Opens Meetings Act because they find that limits their ability to get their mandate accomplished.
Yeah, there's yeah, so I agree that the League of Women Voters was a great event. Shawn, it was too bad that you couldn't make it. I didn't invite you. I didn't think that you would want to come out. But anyways, just to say, I know that when we talk about things, you're like, well, I wasn't invited. Yeah,
Well,
true. I did not invite you.
I think you actually did invite me, but it was like a long time ago, and life seems to be moving so fast right now. If I don't get a reminder like regularly, it just flies right past. And it's like, what happened yesterday? What?
Yeah. So here's what I thought you might enjoy is, so over the past few years I've listened to many a political stump speech from candidates. Some have been really outstanding, and some just fall flat. So as I'm listening to up to these 18 different candidates, and then up comes Mark. Mark did something different. He grabbed the microphone. It was, and then there's a podium, and then he got away from the podium and kind of like took center stage, if you will. And I was like, all right, here we go. Here,
ramping up.
I mean, Mark, you said that, hey, I have this speech written up, but I'm going to go from the heart. And, I like to see that from candidates. Some are better at it than others, but it's kind of this engaging with the audience, or being able to be comfortable in your own skin. And clearly you're good at that, Mark. So, Mark, I want to dive into this here. It's a little bit of a theme of what I call what happened to my Ottawa GOP. And what I mean by this is that, as we've discussed before, Shawn and I, we do not live in Ottawa County. We both live in Kent County. But I phrased the question, what happened to my Ottawa GOP, in terms of what I've heard from my friends who live in Ottawa County, who have been longtime Republicans. So, Mark, as a longtime Republican, what I've heard is that some Republicans don't recognize their party, and I don't mean here by nationally, but locally. Do you have any thoughts on that locally? Like, what happened to my Ottawa GOP?
I don't necessarily know and understand what's in the hearts of men, but there is an extreme element that's taken over the party in the county, in my county, that is not of who we are in terms of people of our faith, in terms of our morality. For to cite an example, they were locally. The local party was all in for Karamo. She was a terrible party chair. They outed her, and the county doubled down on Karamo, even after we chose Pete Hoekstra, who is a highly regarded statesman, highly regarded, highly respected locally. But they have just Hoekstra, and they have still said that Karama was unfairly treated, even though she was a most terrible chair for the party. There is this really sense of rage and extreme element in the party and in this group called Ottawa Impact that we don't recognize, and they came to us early on, well packaged, polished, had all the right words. But I think I mentioned this the other day. They talk about faith, family, and freedom, and I'm gonna throw the fourth one in there. It's phony. They're the least about freedom. They're the least about faith. They're the least about family. And I can talk about each and every one of those in detail and particulars about how they have violated what they claim to be. But when people come to you, you take them at face value, particularly in West Michigan, where we're trusting people. And they have violated that trust. And quite frankly, they lied to us. And they've done immeasurable damage to the county. Now, the next commissioners coming in are going to have a big cleanup on aisle 5 to rewrite this ship. I mean, we have, I think, 5 or 6 lawsuits that are going to have to get settled. We're going to have to try to hire professionals back into the county, restore the confidence of the people in the county. Because right now we've gone from being the showcase for the state of Michigan in terms of a well-run county to becoming the laughing stock. I've heard stories. The Attorney General likes to read the local paper for her comedic relief every day because she knows something's just absurd is coming out of our county in terms of leadership. We got to get back to being just responsible, professional. I'm going to say boring leaders, and do our jobs. I mean, they see this as a national mandate for their extreme issues, which it doesn't really apply to us at the county level. We need to stay in our lane, stay away from the far left woke noise, stay away from the far right Christian nationalist noise, and just get in our lane and manage and govern our county. But they see it as their mandate to have the shrill right side just scream at us. And quite frankly, nothing's been accomplished other than lawsuits and money being misspent. The case that I talked about the other day, Nick, with the League of Women's Voters, the one issue the one that kind of gets in your craw, that kind of wakes you up in the night and you just can't process, is the county closed the food banks. Now, that's not a Democrat issue. That's not a Republican issue. That's just an issue of cruelty. That the county has had food banks for years. It's not a very expensive program, but from their viewpoint, those food banks might feed those people that aren't of our faith or of our color, or people not of our income. So they see that as a method to get even and be mean to them rather than be loving and caring. Now, if you know anything about West Michigan, Ottawa County, we have full employment here. We need people to live here. We need to embrace these people. We need to help them find housing and transportation and daycare. All these issues. If we don't, we're gonna fall back to kind of a dark ages here where corporations don't want to be here and people don't want to live here. We've had in Hudsonville, we've grown our property values 200% in less than 10 years. Now, last quarter, if you look at the numbers, all of a sudden, guess what? Property values are all of a sudden they're starting to come down. Now, I had lunch with a VP, one of our major employers in the county. It's an international company, and he said, "Mark, our shareholders are getting spooked. I'm hearing from our international colleagues they're having second thoughts about coming here and moving with their work here because they're reading about this and hearing about this. They're going, what happened to you guys? This has implications, economic implications on our community." So, I mean, it's one thing just to say these things, but we are now beginning to see the impact. The county will lose it's going to lose its bond rating in the next couple of years. They were really lucky they didn't lose it this time with all these lawsuits hanging out there and the money that's been misspent on severances.
Yeah.
There is a consequence to this shrillness.
What's a
Mark,
bond rating?
Well, if the county wants to borrow any money for any project, be it roads, be it buildings, be it whatever, the county just doesn't have that money in the bank. I mean, they do, but you have to have that reserved. You have to go out and bond. You have to borrow the money in the marketplace to do any kind of upgrade or, like, for example, a school bond. A school needs to expand. They don't necessarily have the money. They float the bond to be paid off over typically 10 years. And that bond rating, if you lose your bond rating, you can't borrow the money or borrow it at a competitive rate. So it has a significant impact.
So that's like a loan against the taxpayer money.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And by the way, you have a mortgage.
We're the bank.
you have a mortgage, and it's no different than the county. The counties and cities and school boards all have a mortgage. It's a bond to build the new buildings for the new schools or for
Gotcha.
the roads.
Build the road. And, something about that is coming from almost all of the candidates running against the commissioners is the phrase like fiscal responsibility. And, that is what they're meaning to. There has been a lot of fear of losing this triple
But
A bond rating.
Nick, in their narrow mind, they don't care. They only care about their shrill noise and lecturing us. They don't really care about fiscal responsibility. It doesn't matter to them. The only thing that matters to them is they can be shrill and shout at us and get their way. They don't
Right.
care.
Yes.
They
Ottawa Impact.
flat don't care. If you are to read the things that Joe Moss has put out, he is justified in spending money on lawsuits to make his point at the expense of food banks, health departments, roads, law enforcement. That's all. That none of that really matters to him. What matters to him is he can make a shrill statement.
How much money do you
Yeah.
think has actually been thrown away
Oh,
by
okay,
by
Shawn.
what they've been doing?
That's a good point. We have $1 million already out there in legal fees. Joe Moss hired his partner's uncle, who was not a qualified county attorney, and they have racked up in over $1 million in legal fees just in employing an attorney. That's a lot of money in 2 years, by the way.
Isn't that a little bit of like conflict of interest to hire a family member
Oh, look,
to
excuse
work
me,
legal?
excuse me. The laws don't apply to them.
Oh, okay.
Just,
My bad.
just,
Yeah,
My
there you go,
bad.
Sean.
just,
Sean, you are exactly right, and
there was
Mark, you are right as well.
there was no competitive bid process. There was no review of the contracts. It was done purely by Joe Moss and his small cadre that have managed to have a majority on the county commission.
Feels old 70s mafia New York style.
Yeah, but at least they're about trying to make money and try to do good things for
Well,
the
yeah,
community
nobody's dead
occasionally.
yet, but
Oh, jeez.
Thank you.
Mark,
Yeah,
you may
thanks.
recall this since you've
Irish elbow.
well, speaking of, I don't want to be too serious on this, but there was when the county administrator, when he was John Gibbs, he during these public hearings for between the commissioners and then the public health director, Adeline Hambley, John Gibbs made this remark that, and it was very damning of Joe Moss in saying that if you did not toe the line with Joe Moss, you would find yourself at the bottom of the river. Now, he spoke recently to, I think, a Fox 17 News reporter, and that comment was brought up. And, Joe Gibbs, he may have said it. He said that he said it in jest, not. And I believe him to a certain degree. I don't think Joe Moss is going out and putting out hit jobs on people.
But Nick,
But the way
words
that
have
people feel,
consequences. Yes, words have
yeah, the way
consequences.
that the employees feel that if you don't do what is said, you are going to find yourself out the door ASAP by any means possible. So, Shawn, to your kind of mafia mentality, I think that's true. A lot of people are feeling that, and that's why they're running against Ottawa Impact. So I want to ask another question here. So going back to the previous election cycle, Ottawa Impact declared and continues to do so that they are the standard whereby Republicans in the county become quote unquote vetted. These so-called then vetted Republicans then turn around to sign a contract with Ottawa to uphold Ottawa Impact standards. So the question is, Mark, again, as a longtime Republican elected official, what are your thoughts on Ottawa Impact taking the reins for this vetting process? If you don't go through them, you are not a quote unquote vetted Republican. How does someone like yourself and these other Republicans get kind of the Republican name back?
We have to beat them at the polls. Period. This whole vetting process that they dreamed up, it's a cult. I liken it to a cult. It's almost Gestapo-ish. You have to sign and take an oath essentially to Joe Moss. This is not who we are as a country or as a state or as a county. To expect people to take a special oath to a person essentially and not just to the Constitution. There's only one oath you need to take, and that's to the Constitution, and then you move on. But they have wasted thousands of hours about this oath, and they're they're focused on things that aren't bringing value and creating this cult figure that we all have to worship to. That's not good government. That's just scary. That's spooky. And we're those of us out here that have some critical thinking going, whoa, this is not just wrong, it's downright dangerous. This is evil. And people need to recognize it, and it's having consequences on our economy and our quality of life here.
Now, for our listener who cannot see, Shawn is making some faces as
some
like
thoughts,
this is his
some thoughts.
Really, he's putting on his thinking cap, and coming up with some really great thoughts and questions. Shawn, do you have something?
Well, I know we try not to get into the national side of things a little bit, but there was a couple things he had said in there about kind of it's dangerous just kind of putting somebody up on a pedestal and making them above everything. And I was just thinking, it doesn't it kind of feel that way a little bit with the very far right Trump followers, a little bit in that aspect too, of putting him so high up on a pedestal. Well, I know we don't get into the national politics.
I don't want to get into the national politics. However, I will say, Shawn, we have lost civility in our communities because we become so shrill and intolerant, and that this polarization has not been good for any of us. The press feeds us this polarization, and it just makes people angry and hate filled.
Do you think Joe Moss was taking a little bit out of Trump's playbook a little bit back when he ran in 2022?
Well, he's very polished, and he had money, and with money you can buy the media, and and the internet, and he did, and he was good at it. I will hand it to him. He's an excellent marketer, as typically people of that caliber are. And now you have a lot of people like me that are just playing Joes and Janes out here that says this is not who we are. This is wrong.
Has it been a little different running for commissioner opposed to when you had to run for mayor?
Well, I've been 3 times elected a mayor. People know who I am. I'm visible in the community. They know I'm genuine. They know that I'm about getting results. So this has a different tone to it because this is purely about confronting evil, and I keep repeating that word, guys. This is wrong. This is bad. This is destroying us. And like I said, it'd be a heck of a lot easier to stay in the sidelines and just continue to be the mayor. But the need in my country and my county right now is right here in this fight against Joe Moss. These Joe Mosses need to be put away. They do not deserve to be in government and leading us in the public forum because it's just doing irreparable damage to us.
Mark, I want to talk a little bit about your campaign and what you hope to do. But before we make that transition, I've got a really important question, one that Shawn and I have discussed a couple of times and that I've had with others as well. So I'll just lay it out here. Are you a crunchy peanut butter person or a smooth peanut butter person?
I grew up crunchy. And my mom my mom always made crunchy peanut butter, and I always would look at that creamy peanut butter in the store and think, gosh, I wish I had creamy peanut butter. So late in life, I have transitioned to creamy. But for whatever reason, I had to grow up crunchy.
Okay.
I had a
All
very
right.
deprived childhood.
Boy, you started out really good there, and then you really let me down because I'm a crunchy peanut butter person all the way. We do have creamy peanut butter in the house, but that's for my 8-year-old. Shawn, where do you land on this?
I think it depends on my mood. Sometimes I feel crunchy. Sometimes I feel smooth. Um,
Sometimes you feel
I
like a
think
nut, sometimes you don't.
if I'm yeah, I think sometimes if I'm doing like toasted toast, toasted toast, toast with peanut butter, I go with the creamy. Texturally, I've already
Yeah.
got crunch from the bread or the toast. I feel like my dad
Okay.
there. We were out to breakfast one time and he goes, "I'd like some non-toasted toast, please." You mean bread?
All right. Well, let me throw you another curveball here. This was really, boy, this was a big surprise to me. So I saw somebody eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Doesn't matter if it's crunchy peanut butter or smooth peanut
What?
butter. But what really threw me off was that this individual had chips on it. Chips in the sandwich, and we're just talking like regular Lay's or Ruffles, whatever. And I was like, whoa, 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 what's happening here? I've never seen anybody put chips on their peanut butter sandwich. Yes, chips on a deli type sandwich. So, I just want to put that out there. Do you guys do that at all? Have you seen that?
Nick, for the record, I love my wife, but she puts pickles on her peanut butter sandwiches.
Oh my Lord.
I
Pickles.
I did it with cheese once when I was a kid.
Hmm.
American cheese.
Boy, okay, these are some crazy combos. Like maybe I'll just have to try it and see if it works. Mark, have you tried the pickles on peanut
No,
butter?
no.
Good for
Pickles
you.
are
Good for
pickles are
you.
terrible in general.
I
Whether
stay in
with
my lane, Nick.
That's right. Stay in your lane. Let your better half take care of some of that other stuff. All right. Well, I'm glad we settled that business. So, Mark, if you are elected to office, what would you do on day one? And Mark, I want to give you some options. Would you, on day one, fire the county administrator and replace him with a political candidate without conducting a public interview? Would you eliminate one of the county's departments without review? Would you attempt to replace the health director with a safety manager from an HVAC company? Would you replace the county's longtime corporation counsel with one that has conflict of interest? And would you change the county's motto? These are all references to Ottawa Impact, by the way, in which they did on day one.
You just took all my talking points, Nick.
Oh,
yeah,
did I steal your
what's
thunder?
he going to
Yeah,
run
sorry.
on now? That's his entire platform.
But Nick, we sit here and we laugh, but everything you said is absolutely true. Everything about good governance and professional leadership, fiscal responsibility, all those things have just been totally thrown out the window. Open meetings, pick one, pick them all. If there was just one or two, we could understand it, but it's one after another. Every week, it's another issue. We have we when we get there, we need to be calm, thoughtful professionals. We need to seek input and understand what is the best future for us. I wish I had, what are we going to do on day one? I don't have a list in front of me, but there are some things that we're going to have to deal with right away, such as all these lawsuits that have been rightfully put up against the city or the county. Joe Moss is in professional and personal liability since he posted things on his personal Facebook page in regards to defaming John Gibbs. If I was him, I would make sure I would lawyer up because I don't think he fully appreciates how much personal jeopardy he has right now in these lawsuits. I would not want to be him for whatever reason.
What is it with politicians nowadays utilizing so much social media?
Well, because we don't have newspapers anymore. Nobody listens to the radio anymore, Shawn. The social media is the platform. Whether you like it or not, that's the reality of the world right now.
Yeah, there was, Shawn, I think a funny instance of this is, last night we had the birthday party for your two lovely little twins. But during the time of gift giving, right, for presents, one of the presents on the box said it was, like this little kid's gadget. But, when we grew up, getting gifts, and Mark, I'm sure you as well, if it was like a really popular gift, like on the box somewhere, it would say, as seen on TV,
TV,
like
yep.
but
Yep.
what this box said, it says as seen on TikTok.
Did
And
it?
that's just like it was something that Aaron brought up, one of your friends, but we were like, yeah, that is the way people consume their media these days. Because to your earlier point, Mike, there are hardly there's just a lack of newspapers nationally, and that's just social media is the way.
Well, I remember you telling me one time, Nick, Wyatt was watching YouTube and he'd come up and go, I need to get this toy. I need to get that toy. I need to get this toy. And you're like, where are you getting these ideas? And then you found out, he's watching unboxing YouTube videos of other kids getting toys. You're like, I need to get that toy. I need to get that toy.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, it was YouTube kids for YouTube.
Force-fed.
Yeah. It was like commercial after commercial in these boxing things. But Mark, so you're open to doing things on day one. You're not going to go in, I assume, with this plan that you've prepared ahead of time with your colleagues or whatever. So you'll do things differently. Again, I assume from if you are elected, what would
Well, one of the first
what's
things,
your
one you say, what would I like to do on day one? First of all, we have taken a very wholesome issue having invocations at county and city meetings. Unfortunately, invocations and prayer at the beginning of every meeting has become a polarized event. And we've taken something wholesome and we have diminished it. And we evidence at the county with all the time and hours and lawsuits now spent as to who gets to do the invocation, who doesn't. They finally had let the Episcopalian minister come in, and then they were rude to him when he gave the invocation, and now the Satanists have to come in because they all have the First Amendment and it applies in government. So one of the first things that probably needs to get done is just to take that noise away and just go to a moment of silence. How I pray and who I prayed is different than Joe Moss's prayer. I guarantee you that, right? And so in the interest of having efficient meetings and respecting people, a moment of silence in lieu of a prayer, an invocation is much healthier, is not polarizing, and allows us to do our jobs and not spend hundreds of hours arguing about who gets to do the invocation and get in a lawsuit. So that's just kind of a small thing, but it's kind of a big thing too, because Shawn said, well, how much money have you wasted? It's not just the money. They're spending hours, thousands of hours on their virtual signaling that hours should have been spent on problem solving and advancing the community. Instead, it's thousands of hours on virtual signaling about who gets to get the prayer and all these other issues that have nothing to do with us. Another resolution on abortion. Well, a resolution doesn't, it's just words. A resolution on we're a constitutional county. What does that mean? Thousands of hours spent arguing a constitutional county. It doesn't, it's just words and it's virtual signaling when those hours could have spent doing something productive and useful, not wasting time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Shawn, you want to say something? I see it.
Oh no, I
You
was
see
just
it on his face?
no, this is not my normal chair, and it's not the most comfortable chair. So I was just moving. I did just think about this though. If you were elected, do you think that's where you'd want to stop politically, or would you like to continue to climb further up and maybe give the governor a run later on down the line?
Shawn, politics was not on my dream map. It just wasn't. how I was so privileged and humbled to become a mayor of a great city. I don't know what my future holds. I did run for state house during the pandemic. I didn't campaign, got 38% in the primary. To give you an idea, people know who I am. I'm a genuine person. A lot of these pundits out here that are advising me, that want me to be more scripted, they don't want me to necessarily just speak from the heart. But I think there needs to be a tone change nationally where people can just answer questions and be themselves and not be afraid of the outcomes. The highly scripting of politicians and people in government and our elected officials is not doing us any well. We need to know what's in their heart and what is their intent. And we've lost that at the national level. We've certainly lost it at the local level. Now, and here again, speaking from experience, when you're genuine, you get stuff done. And when you're open-minded, stuff happens. Just look at what the city of Hudsonville has become. We're the nicest place to live in Michigan right now. I mean, there's lots of great communities, but of course I'm biased here. But we've had our home values double in 10 years. We've had our incomes go up 70%. We've grown the community with nearly 600 new housing stock for the workforce. We're working on building transportation systems. We're focused on bringing daycare into the community so people can work and have their children be in good daycare, and those people can continue to add value to the economy. But none of this is happening right now, not at the county level, and certainly kind of not really at the national level or the state level either, because everybody's too busy about their shrill political agenda and not accomplishing things. And we need to reset the tone locally, state, and nationally. I mean, Gretchen is the most polarizing governor we could ever think to have. And now we have a highly polarizing county, our county commissioner, our chair is highly polarizing. So we have this extreme polarization on both left and right. And there are those of us that kind of want to get in the middle of the road and just have good governments. We want good roads. We want to do these things. We want to build our economy. And why we are out here in this far extreme is just disturbing, and nobody's winning.
Do you feel like that it's really pushed that way a little bit just because the louder you are screaming, the more publicity you get, and like it's almost turned into a real life reality show on everything?
I think so. Well, and maybe Mark Northup's reality is, hey, folks, not that I want to be preachy, but why are we talking about these issues? They don't apply. Why are we wasting so much time about transgenderisms and Christian nationalism and when we pray and when we don't pray? It's just we don't. There's not bringing any value to the community when we argue about that stuff.
Yeah.
We need good governance and professional leadership. And Shawn, I'm going to tell you, I've been around enough. I think 95% of us elected officials feel this way. It's just that the 5% that are shrill enough get all the publicity.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 95% of this is not a real stat, but anecdotally, like you feel confident that in Ottawa County, Mark, the elected officials are wanting to make the moves that you are suggesting.
Yes, I know those. How many were there? 18 there on Thursday. If
Yeah.
I would guarantee you would ask those 18 of us. That's how we feel, and that's why we've all stood up to challenge this discourse and this conversation we're having in our communities. We need to get back to good governance, professional leadership, fiscal responsibility. We need to focus on the economy. We need to focus truly on families and on our freedoms and our ability to have our own faith and choose to pray and worship the God how I want to choose, not how you choose.
Out of the with all the 18, are they all running for the same district, or are they?
Shawn, there's 11 districts. There were 18 of us there. I would say the 18, I think there were 12 Republicans, believe it or not, and I think there were only maybe 6 Democrats. I did not hear a single person, though, when they spoke, talk about their party. Now, the unfortunate thing at the county level, you have to be party declared. At the city level in Michigan, you are not party declared. So cities, by their nature, are apolitical. And because of that, cities are fairly well run. But at the county level, where you have to be party declared, you feel that becomes a mandate for those shrill party issues.
Yeah, Mark, you've mentioned that before in conversation. With that is the way how the city of Hudsonville runs, and I know that in the city of Holland with Mayor Nathan Box, there was a policy too, like an in-house policy that all council members abide by. Things that you talk about or don't. Is that what you have in Hudsonville?
In your charter, it will the charter that was established early on, and the founders of our communities in the charter said we don't want these polarizing politics. We want our elected officials to be apolitical. And consequently, I serve with on my commission 6 commissioners. We don't talk politics. I don't know what their parties are. I don't care what their parties are. When we're sitting here in the dais or we're in meetings, it's about problem solving for the good of the community, not about our shrill politics and some of those things that just aren't healthy in the community. Unfortunately, at the county level, you have to be party declared. And at the state level, you have to be party declared. Else you're not going to win, obviously. But at the most cities in Michigan and the villages are not party. Your elected officials are not party declared. And you know what? That's, from my perspective, pretty damn healthy, because it makes us focus on what the people want us to focus on.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that. We've got about 5 more minutes left before we land the plane, as I like to say. So, Shawn, and to all our listeners, I think by now people know that this is a news breaking program, as well as a program where people find out what type of peanut butter to eat, or how to say or how to pronounce where they go to their favorite grocery store. But the breaking news,
or how to use a neti pot.
or how to use a neti pot. I mean, breaking news, just journalism at its zeitgeist. So the what we want to announce today is that in recent years, in the past election cycle, 2022, we had a group of candidates who committed to the common good, and so we have this program in place again this year. And I just want to read a bit about what that means. So, candidates who commit to the common good, number one, to be clear, it's where the candidates themselves choose to support or organize around these forthcoming principles. It's not where, Vote Common Good West Michigan goes out and endorses candidates. It's because 501c4s are not allowed to do that. But it's a turn. It's where candidates self-select to participate in these things. So what we have in our common good candidate program for this year is trustworthy leadership, responsible governance, genuine belonging, ethical conduct, service before self, and love in politics. So there's a little nice and tidy little paragraphs that go about that, where our listenership can find at votecommongoodwestmichigan.org. But Mark has committed to these things as he campaigns for office, and if he's elected to office as well. So first of all, I want to thank Mark for that, and then just talk with Mark if he has any further thoughts or comments about being a common good candidate.
You want me to tell a story?
You can tell a story.
Okay. Good Friday, 1989. There was a state-of-the-art ship that left Valdez, Alaska. And the captain had other needs, such as drinking, and left the pilot house of the ship. The ship didn't make the turn, missed the buoy, and drove up on Bly Reef. It was the Exxon Valdez. Split the ship open, and she leaked crude oil all over. I was in Alaska at the time. The ship did not get orders to get underway. We went home for the Easter weekend and watched this play out on CNN. I'd put the ship on standby, but they wouldn't get us underway. Come Monday morning, everybody realized that the ship had gone aground and it was a serious catastrophe, a natural, just an awful event. We got the ship underway, and I spent the next 10 weeks at the Exxon Valdez directing cleanup operations with my crew. It was messy, it was dirty, it was not fun. Now, what is the metaphor for me personally here? I know what it's like to serve. I know it's hard work. It's not glamorous. I'm on standby right now. I want to get underway, but it's not going to happen until I'm elected. We need to go to the county. It's not going to be glamorous. It's not going to be, and I wish I could look in the eye and say it's going to be enjoyable. It will be meaningful. It will be hard work. We have to right this ship. We're hemorrhaging at this. We're hemorrhaging our goodwill. We're hemorrhaging our trust. We're hemorrhaging our coffers. We deserve better. I need to be there. I need to be part of the fix, Nick. And I don't say that out of any arrogance. I say that out of passion and experience.
There you have it. That is Mark Northrup of Hudsonville running to defeat Commissioner, Board Chair, and leader of Ottawa Impact Joe Moss in District 5 during the August 6th primary. Shawn, do you have any comment before we let Mark go?
All I can say is this is my vision. Day one. This is my vision. Mark wins, and he walks in and he sits down and he pulls out a cigar and he pours himself a whiskey and he looks at everybody in the room and goes, "All right, how are we going to fix this?"
I like that.
Let's
I don't know
take
if you're
a second.
allowed to smoke inside, but I like it.
Let's calm down. Let's have a cigar and a whiskey. We're going to sit down. We're going to fix the world's problem. We're going to figure this out. Let's get it done. I'm just saying that's what I see. That's what I see.
Not literally.
No.
Yeah, we're not. I'm not suggesting you do that. That's a nice mental image, though. Mark, we want to thank you for your time this morning and appreciate you being with us. You can now get on with the rest of your day, sir.
Hey, Shawn,
Thanks again, Mark.
Before we go, I want to thank you for being a veteran. And from one veteran to another, I can say that with my heart. I'm always appreciative of veterans that have served like you, and you've served in some tough situations in the Air Force. And it's always nice to talk to another veteran because I think there's a special understanding we have of each other. But thank you for serving. It doesn't make Shawn and the other patriots any less of a patriot. It just makes us a little more sensitive to what we've done in our lives for our country.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you for serving as well.
You're welcome.
Keeping
Shawn.
me free.
All right. See you later, Mark.
You have a good one, sir. Thanks again.
Thanks, boys.
Shawn, I think let's wrap it up here, and so we can
land this plane.
Yeah, get to our next record. But do you have any short comment or thoughts before we hit the stop button?
Not necessarily. This is the second time. I know you've talked to Mark separately outside of podcasts and stuff like that, but this is the second time I've gotten to talk to him, and he feels like a very genuine, honest type of person, and I've enjoyed every conversation we've had with him so far.
Yeah, very very personable. I think big personality, easy to talk to. So hopefully that. He makes connections with people, and he can help to persuade the voting electorate in Ottawa County to do better.
Tell me a little bit about it was on Thursday night in Zealand that he was at, and the other 18 candidates. Tell me a little bit how the because I know you guys talked about it at the beginning a little bit of the he picked up the mic and he started kind of relating to the crowd, to everybody else. From my understanding from the beginning of the podcast, sounds like they were a bit stuffy.
No, so, I mean, to be clear, I've heard a lot of candidates give their stump speech over the past years with my work with Vote Common Good, all over the place. And that's not to say that those involved at the event were stuffy. There's just, people who are either have their speech memorized and they do it, they can do it and they do it well, or there are those who are a little more nervous in front of folks and, they kind of stumble along. But when Mark came up, you could just kind of see the assuredness,
confidence.
Yeah. And I think that has probably just with his own makeup and constitution, but he's been an elected official for a while. So he's used to saying things in front of, an audience.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. All right, Shawn, we're going to get out of here. So, but thank you, everybody, for joining this Common Good conversation with Shawn and I. We'd love to hear from you. Was this helpful? What did you think of it? Is this something that you would share with your family and friends? If so, we would love to have you do that. So you can follow us on Facebook at Vote Common Good West Michigan -primary, or also on Instagram, Vote Common Good West Michigan. I think it's just Vote Common Good .West Michigan. And you can also find us and share this with your friends on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And finally, if you have any questions or like to be a guest on the program, you can send all those questions to Shawn, since he's the brain of this operation, or maybe on second thought, you could just send them to me at votecommongood.wm@gmail.
You have a better chance of actually checking the emails better than I do.
Yeah. Yes, I do. All right, we're going to get out of here. Till next time, friends, be the common good in West Michigan. Grace and peace.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.